Hello everyone, it's been a while. I needed to take some time off last week after 2 weeks of very hard work. I want to do a sort of recap of FRR, take you through the stages and take a look at where some things happened.
Hello guys, I'm just editing this video and I thought I'd quickly add a little detail about my training of these 2 weeks we're talking about. I didn't only race, I was also doing extra training, as you'll see in the calendar. I'll show you maybe a little overview on intervals of ICU. That might be a bit easier to understand. But I was doing a lot of work on top of all this FRR racing.
So we've got stage 1 on Saturday the 18th, which started off okay-ish with my third best 5-minute power for this year. Nothing very significant, but it was early. During this weekend, however, I could tell that I didn't really come into this as well recovered as I would have hoped. The 5 days leading up to the start of FRR, I wasn't able to recover as much as I would have hoped. On stage 2, I could definitely feel that. I think I got dropped on the first climb. I wasn't feeling great. That was the point at which I kind of felt that I wasn't where I wanted to be. The day after, we had the time trial up out the Zwift. That was a success. I did my best ever 60-minute power. What more can I say? That was good. It wasn't great, it was just good. That's kind of the general feeling I have with this FRR. It wasn't as great as I expected it to be, but it certainly was good. I'm happy I did it. Let's take a look further ahead. Oh, we got a visitor. Let's see what he does. The next thing that's probably worth mentioning is the first rest day on the Thursday. That's kind of where it all went south. The day after, the Friday, was a day with the 3 short stages, and the first one was a lot of fun. The crit course, that's where I really enjoyed the sprinting, but gradually again I could feel in the second stage of the day, and definitely during the third, the time trial, I could feel I wasn't as fresh. And of course I had done a lot of sprints before in the first and second stage of the day, which usually really has its toll on me. But here I could feel, if you look back at the footage from the time trial, I could really feel I wasn't where I wanted to be. That rest day on the Thursday kind of, took the rhythm out, and that definitely didn't help. The day after, we had the race on the Bologna course, and I remember mentally that was a very tough day. I did my my third best 5-minute power for this year, so it isn't bad, but I should have peaked. I should have been able to produce best ever power. And I got dropped multiple times. I really was struggling there. I'll dive into this a bit later, but something was definitely going on during those days. Something was definitely amiss. The day after, on Sunday, we had the race up Font 2, and I remember I was very disappointed with that race. I did my third best 60-minute power on that one. I just felt I couldn't hang on. Something was wrong. That kind of made me decide, okay, I need to do something about this because I'm about to crash. So I decided the day after I wouldn't race the time trial, which I didn't race. The day after, I gave it a good go on Innsbruck course. I still wasn't where I wanted to be, and I got a bit unlucky with getting dropped on a descent. If I didn't get dropped there, I think I would have finished somewhere around my peers. But I felt I still wasn't where I needed to be. Day after, out and back again, I can't really remember anything about that stage. Then we had the second rest day, which really did me good, because the day after that we had another time trial, the very long time trial in France. And I remember having somewhat decided I wouldn't race it either, because I hadn't raced the second time trial. There wasn't really a point in racing the third. But when the day came, I felt good, and I felt motivated to kind of give it an effort. And I also remember thinking it was the final chance in quite a while for me to do a 1 hour full gas effort. So yeah, I felt quite motivated to just go ahead and race it anyway, which I did, and that was actually pretty good. I managed to set my second best ever 60-minute power. Considering all the fatigue, that was pretty good. I remember being quite chuffed with that. I was in the zone and I was feeling quite good. The next day we had Yorkshire, which went well, I think I remember. Yeah, these last 3 days I really felt I was starting to get going again. That's what I wanted to say earlier. The days where I didn't have such a good time, something was wrong. I don't know if it was down to fatigue, nutrition, some illness maybe. Could be any of those, could be something else. But I know something wasn't right, which is very clear when I look at how I was feeling for the last 3 days. Because there I felt fine, I felt like I could do this for another week if I had to. The Saturday we did Yorkshire, felt fine, I performed fine. Wasn't really my course, but it went well. Then on the final day it went perfectly. I almost got my first ever ACAT win. Yeah, I felt really good. I felt on top of my fueling strategy. I felt in control of my fatigue. I felt I was sleeping enough, eating enough off the bike and on the bike. And it was a long stage, but I felt like I had it under control. It was overall like one of the best races I think I've ridden in a long time. And probably the reason why I didn't win there, and I'll put up a little clip of that race at the end. It finished on the epic KOM reverse, and it was basically me against another guy, and we kind of traded blows for a bit, tried to drop each other. Neither of us did. I tried to drop him on the first half of the climb, and then for the second half I just sat on his wheel and followed his accelerations, which I did perfectly fine. But eventually, as you can see, he beat me in the sprint. And I think I could have beaten him because I saw his accelerations when he tried to drop me, and they weren't too hard. I could perfectly well follow them. And I think at the end of the climb, if I would have just dug in very hard until the line, I could have dropped him. But that's just something that comes with confidence, and that's something I'm working on. Doing these things, learning, that's what it's all about. And these 2 weeks of racing really taught me something about myself, about fueling on the bike, about my strengths as a rider. That last stage, I really got the feeling if I would have just had the balls to attack, I would have won my first race. So of course after that, I had a recovery week, which was very necessary. Of course, I was tired after racing for 2 weeks. So I had a week of low intensity and volume plan with an FTP test at the end. But Tuesday, Wednesday, I could feel something was wrong again. I started feeling a bit dizzy and at some points very tired, other points perfectly fine. So that must have been some sort of illness, fatigue. I think it was some illness because something was definitely wrong. I could feel myself kind of getting on top of that during the weekend, but I still wasn't 100% there. On the Sunday, I had my FTP test, and I basically woke up with a massive headache, which I had on and off for pretty much the whole week. But I tried to finish it anyway. I started off really well, actually, as you can see. Around the halfway point of that effort, I could feel myself starting to struggle. And yeah, definitely the last 5 minutes, I was just nowhere near being able to hold a number high enough to actually increase my FTP. So I ended up with pretty much the exact same number as 1.5 months ago when I did my last FTP test. But considering I was feeling ill and tired that whole week pretty much, I definitely wasn't 100%. I think that was a decent effort. If I had to guess where my FTP was about now, I think it would be around 340 watts. I'm definitely recovering more right now. I feel a little better. Today is another day off, and the coming days I have some light work planned to go into some high volume endurance rides during the weekend. And that's really where the focus is at right now, just training. It's less than 2 months until the first event of the year, and I really have to start focusing on training for my goals.
So that means I've got to start focusing on losing some weight again, really got to follow my training schedule, but I'll be sure I'll be able to fit some Zwift races in here and there.
So in general, I think FRR World Tour was a success. I wasn't at my best, and I definitely went through some very tough moments mentally, and that's something I'm quite thankful for. I'm glad I went through that now rather than during some important event later on in the year or somewhere in my career. And of course, with you guys being there, being able to share the ups and downs, as I explained in I think my last video, it's just something that feels very good. It feels very good for me to be able to be honest with you when I'm feeling down, when I'm feeling great, anything in between. It's just that organic honesty that really makes me feel good, and that's why I'm doing this, just to kind of document this whole journey, as you guys know. So in a couple of weeks I will do another FTP test. If you guys want me to live stream that, let me know, we might do that. Apart from that, I'm still waiting on the new stem, and I'm looking at some new wheels because my bike right now is super heavy. Of course, a new stem is kind of gonna fix that problem because it's shorter, so it weighs less, but the wheels are probably where the gains are most easily had. Those are 2 upgrades you could expect on the bike. If I get those parts in, you'll be the first to know. And that's about it. If anything else comes up, I will be sure to let you know. If you want to keep up to date with this adventure, be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, whatever, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.